working out the area and perimeter of a triangle using Pythagoras. Now, Pythagoras' theorem allows us to work out any third side of a triangle if we're given two sides of a triangle already, provided that it's a right-angled triangle. Use Pythagoras when you don't have any angles in the middle of a triangle except for a right angle. Alright, in order to work out the perimeter, we do indeed need the other side of a triangle, because we'd have to add everything up around the outside, and we actually also need it for the area as well. Now let's move down to how we solve this. We put a letter in there, simply make up another letter. It doesn't have to be B. I've avoided A because A stands for the adjacent when we use trigonometry. And what you do is you simply have, in order to work out what B is there, you simply put into your calculator the square root of, and then you've got the other two sides and you've got to square them. So 5.4, start with the longest side, because if you subtract a long side from it, if you had short minus long, that will give you a negative number, and negative numbers, you cannot take a square root of a negative number. Alright, so if you get an error on your calculator, you'll know immediately that you put it in the wrong order. Now the reason why we use minus as well is because we're looking for a shorter side. Now this is only a medium side, yes, but it is indeed shorter than the 5.4, and it goes, you know, pretty much common sense. You want to find something shorter than something else, then you're going to have a minus in there at some point, right? So it's less than 5.4, so you're going 5.4 minus something else to give you the medium side there. Alright, so if you enter it in exactly like that with the square root and the squares all in there, especially if you have a natural display calculator, it'll make it very easy. You just have to enter it in exactly like that. If you don't, you have just a normal little, well, just it's not a normal one, but a cut-off square root. That's only a short one there. Then on your calculator, then you have to add in some extra brackets. But if you have a square root that goes right over the top, then that's fine. It will give you the correct answer here. We've got a few extra decimal places. Now that's because sometimes when we do calculations afterwards, this will affect our final result. So what we've done here to work out our perimeter is our final result for our perimeter. Added everything up around the outside, including the B that we've figured out, and we get 13.03 meters to 2dp. Now I've cut it off at 2dp this time, and yes, if I used 3.93 in this case here, 2dp, and I didn't use the rest of it, I would have still got the same answer. But it doesn't affect the perimeter there, but it does actually affect the area. I do definitely need to take all of these decimal places, well, definitely more than what I have as definitely more than 2dp anyway. Need to take 3 or more decimal places, because that does actually affect our final result here. If you took, suppose you only took 3.93 times 3.7 divided by 2, I think it works out to be about 7.27. You try that out on your calculator. So, you know, if you cut that off at 2dp to begin with, like that there, and then you use that as just 2dp there, then you would end up with 7.27 as your result, which is actually off. You know, it's just have a look and see anyway, and you can try it out yourself. How do we work out the area? How did we get this to begin with? We've got base times height. Now this is a base times our height, but basically all you're doing is multiplying the two sides that are right next to the right angle here. So you're halving it as well, you're dividing by 2, same thing as times a half, or a half times base height, or whatever, or divide by 2, it's the same thing. Alright, so we've used dividing by 2 at the end. Alright, you can just check to see whether this is correct, whether it actually really does make sense or not. We've got 3.9, which is approximately 4 times approximately 4 here as well, which would give us 16, divided by 2 would give us 8, and we just rounded up a little bit more, so we're going to get a little bit more than what we need. It's a little bit less than 8, obviously 7, but that really does show that you haven't made a mistake on your calculator. You've probably entered in correctly on your calculator, because this does make sense here that it's actually 7.28. In the same way, you could check the perimeter as well. You could say, well, it's approximately 4 plus approximately 5, which will give us 9, plus approximately 4 more here will give us 13, and that's exactly what we wanted, about 13. So unlikely to be an error there as well. And another way of checking as well, you can just see, well, that number there, our B is, we worked it out to be about 4. Well, looks like it's probably about 4 in relationship to everything else, right? Okay, so it's unlikely to be an error there. Alright, so our next step is using trigonometry, but that will be for the next video, so you can go on to that if you like.